Don't believe, just know. Cymatic TV, turning vibration into reality.
Hello and welcome to the energy update for today, Friday the 13th. And for all you suspicious people out there, don't walk under ladders. Try not to cross a path of a black cat and stuff like that. If you knew the history behind the 13th or the Friday the 13th, you realise there's not a great deal to it. But, you know, it's amazing what we can do with our minds, and we will be looking into that a little bit later on. So, let's just go through what's been happening this week, not only on the sun, but also on the earth, and see how those vibrations have been affecting us. So, earlier on in the week, and the people who've been watching this sort of channel, you would have had your mini update during the week, and we went into this cosmic ray alert. So basically, at the beginning of the week, on the 9th and the 10th, and it's actually started on the 8th, basically the magnetic field of the Earth it didn't collapse, but it sort of calmed down incredibly. And when it does calm down, it allows a lot more of these cosmic rays through, which have huge implications upon health and mental well-being. And we will be going into that a little bit later on, a little bit more in depth at the end of this video, so make sure you keep watching for that right at the end. Let's just have a look what's been happening on our sun. Here we have our local star, our local distributor of energy to the earth and therefore to us, and it's been a bit of a mixed bag week, let's put it that way. Not only did the magnetic field drop out, and we saw that earlier on, in the week, but there was also a little bit more increasing sunspots, which have been quite interesting. This one here that's been coming through, that's just started to come through, that released off an C flare, which we can see going off here in this section here, around about now, I would have thought. There it goes there, and just sort of pops off. There you go. And we're seeing this sunspot here just drifting out of view, and it's going to be possibly active in the next sort of 2 or 3 days, because it will be on this side of the sun, out of the view of the earth, and we will not be hitting it, not be getting any much in the way of vibration from it. So we can see these sort of 3 spikes here coming back, and it sort of had that major calm down. There was that one individual one that sort of kicked out, and then we had those 3 kick in again. So we get back getting the rhythm that is coming back to being normal after we saw last week. It got a bit sporadic. And this is going to increase over the next year and a half, as solar maximum starts building in. As we saw with this, let's just have a look at this flare here. As it kicked out there right at the end, we can see it's coming out this way. That's not a planet, that's actually a satellite. The planets at the moment mainly on the far side, so you got Mercury and Venus over this side. Earth is always there on the right hand side, and you got Mars drifting out. Now this cosmic ray could have actually came about because if you see this dark blue section here, we were running through that during the 8th, 9th and 10th, and that could have calmed down the sun, calmed down the earth a little bit more. This would have calmed down us a little bit, and it's been quite good after what we've seen in the elections in the US. You would have thought it would have all kicked off, but no, it's pretty calm at the moment. Yeah, there's a lot of toing throwing, and I think that's going to be a lot more evident next week. But let's see how the earth has been affected, and obviously how that's been affecting us. So at the beginning of last week, you might have seen this in the mini update during the week on the Wednesday night, we had a bit of activity. The ending of that reset to the system that we can see down in the southern in Antarctica, and then we started, as it tippled out, as it sort of faded out totally on the 7th, and it really marked the end of that sort of reset, which happens sort of regularly upon the earth. The energy was a little bit scattered out, so it's got that moment of pause, as it were, between the 2 vibrations, and as it kicked back in, we see it kicking back in with the plexus solis, the root, and this a little bit on the solar plexus, the sacrum, and the root, and a little bit on the crown chakra, and it was actually filtering across a little bit more towards the heart chakra, but there's nothing left in the North Pole or South Pole or even in Hawaii. So that reset has really hit now, and we're starting to see this rhythm that it comes back on a permanent basis. Here we have on the 9th, so that's the Monday, and here we see again the Alaskan Ridge sort of building up. So it's trying to accumulate a bit of energy into the system, trying to help it to sort of stay within the system. Nothing really happening around the world. Very low activity that day for earthquakes and for vibrations. So there was a little bit of a tickle of the root, but that was about it really. The following day we had a bit of a scattered situation, but it was mainly in the sacrum and the root, and we will be seeing this familiar pattern coming back all the way through this week. Here we have again the root is getting a lot of action, and then there's a little bit on the sacrum, but it's mainly the throat and the heart that's the new entry into this rhythm. So we've had this rhythm knocking between the plexus solis, between the root, the sacrum, and the plexus solis. Now it's come out across the heart and the throat chakra. That was on the Wednesday, on the 11th, through the 11th, for all those other suspicious people about numbers and stuff like that. Should really understand where our numbers come from to see the actual potency of it all. There is something in that, and that's certainly a video for another day. And that was the Wednesday. This was yesterday, Thursday, so there was a little bit more sort of on the plexus solis and also the sacrum. It was touching a little bit on the crown chakra, and it was skirting round the bottom of Australia and Africa, but nothing really hitting on a reset, that's for sure. And the root seemed to have calmed down a bit, just seemed to be mirroring the crown chakra. So it's mainly about sort of sacrum and root, sacrum and plexus solis, really. Those are the two that have been constant throughout this whole thing, with a little bit more on the root chakra. Today, what we've got some quite nice big earthquakes in California. That's the sacrum really kicking off again, and then we have a little bit on the root. It's been running all the way up against the spine of the Americas, and that started in the root up there down in South America, and rocking up to the sacrum and dropping back down onto the plexus solis, but nothing really more than that for the time being. So we can see this new rhythm coming out in the earth, and it is all about sacrum and plexus solis and root. We will be going into that and how that may be affecting us in this coming week at the end of the video. Okay, what's coming down the line? We can certainly see a definite uptick over the last sort of 2 or 3 months on the solar activity, certainly in the sunspot section. There's a lot less in the way of corona holes, and we, as I say, we will see this building up over the next year and a half as we get to work our way up to solar maximum. The thing is every time the sunspots at the moment come in front of the Earth, they sort of calm down. So we at the moment we see that new sunspot, which is the 2782, which is down in the bottom left, that sort of kicked off that C flare that we looked at earlier on. But we have also these other sunspots coming through, which are the sunspots that we saw 2 or 3 weeks ago on the Earth facing side. They're coming back round. They will be with us here again in, I would have thought, in a week's time. So how does this all sort of affect us really? Well, this is this new rhythm that I was talking about. This is the earthquakes that has been over the week since the 6th to the 13th to today. If you can see, there is main groupings in the plexus solis and also in the sacrum area and also in the root. The rest is pretty much scattered. You can't really see a lot of accumulation in certain areas. But this is going to mean this week, I think if we look on a global level, I think it's going to be a hard time for communication companies such as media and big tech, Facebook and what have you, and YouTube. They might be having a hard time, I think, because I think people are going to stand up and sort of say, what about me, my family, and my immediate surroundings? How about looking after my house? How about looking after my family and getting involved with my family? I think all this lockdown and all this uncertainty is starting to get to quite a few people. But it just means that we need to look at and assess what's going on in the root of the problem. What's causing half of these problems. And I reckon a lot of it has to do with, who controls the narrative controls one's mind in a way, or one's spirit. So maybe this is what I'm talking about, the reverse on the media companies. I think we'll find this week happening with people just getting a little bit peed off with the media, with also Facebook and stuff like that, how the narrative is being orchestrated rather than actually, news and journalism is supposed to be about telling you things that you may not necessarily want to hear, but being very, very factual. And all this fact checking it's very suspicious sometimes and suspect really in the facts that they dish out there, because sometimes they'll say one thing and the next week they're saying the complete opposite in the mass media, and it just doesn't stand up. And I think this is what's going to come up through the humans this week. And you might see that certain situations get a little bit more sort of heated. And for us as personal sort of things, it's a good time to sort of look at oneself, look at what we're doing, how we're living our lives, how we're treating other people, how we're treating the earth, and stuff like that, and getting a little bit more connected with nature. This lockdown has certainly been very detrimental to the health of the human beings, and probably been a good thing for the planet, for nature in itself. So there is some goods and bads in all of this, but for us humans, I don't think it's been a very good thing for our health, and that's mental as well as physical. And I think we will see a few repercussions in this sort of situation. One of the things that we're going to be looking at, and we're looking at now, is this cosmic ray alert that we had earlier on in the week. As you can see to the left-hand side, there has been multitude of studies. There is a link in the thing below about how these cosmic rays affects health in humans, and this study is done on astronauts because obviously they're a lot higher up, but it does affect us down here on the surface of the earth, and there is multitude of ways that it does actually sort of affect us, mainly to do with cardiovascular situations, and also circulatory sort of situations, but also I think with the gut and how our body actually sort of processes things, and that could be the kidneys and stuff like that as well, on a physical level. What we're going to do today is I just want to go a little bit deeper into the idea of how this affects us mentally and how it affects our nervous system. Our nervous system is an incredible thing. It's part of that electromagnetic system that we call the aura, which create the chakras and stuff like that. If you look at this image to the right hand side, you can see the information or the electrical pulses that go down from the brain and then go back up from the brain. So the question is what starts? Is it the feeling sensation that we get from the brain, we get from the body that goes up to the brain, and then the brain sends down a message saying, please pull your hand out the fire because you're starting to burn your hand off. You know what I mean? That sort of thing. How do we catch things? How the information is sent through to these parts of our body, which we can see in the top middle. And it's this whole electrical system that is within us is driven by this vibration that comes from the universe, that comes through the galaxy, that comes through the sun, that comes through the earth, and that eventually makes up our sort of energy, our aura, our chakras and stuff like that. If we are attentive to these vibrations, you may feel it a little bit more. If you're not attentive to these sort of vibrations, you may feel it a lot less. But there is drawbacks on that side as well, simply because if you're not paying attention, you won't see those illnesses coming up and giving you a big bite on the backside, as it were, you know. And once we start connecting with this, we can actually start realizing that the human body is just a miniature version of the universe. You know, down in the bottom here we have these how this energy comes in from the sun and comes into the Earth's magnetic field through magnetic field lines, which affect the Earth and how it acts and how it is. And we get the similar sort of situation within our brains, where you get these electrons that go through the brain that actually produce, the functioning of the body, the thoughts, and etc. If the magnetic field drops out like it did on Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and also Wednesday, you can get effects on our mental health, but also the way that the coupling between the body and the mental state actually works. So it may reduce sort of electricity going to your heart, going to your kidneys, and etc., which could create those problems. I am doing an in-depth study on this subject because I've had two clients over the last sort of 3 weeks who have particular problems. And we've managed to link up a lot of this vibration and what's been going on, so the person can actually understand it a lot easier from her side. It is an amazing video with quite an amazing breakthrough, I think, personally, on how we look at health. And it's I'm in the process of doing the interviews and also doing, breaking down and doing the video, doing the editing. So that will hopefully be coming out next week. We've got 3 or 4 videos that are coming through the thing at the moment, which are all sort of connected with that. So this is why it's important to sort of keep an eye out on what's going on this vibration, because although the Earth is not a human being and we are not the Earth as per se, we use the same mechanics. And when one has a mechanic situation going on, like the Earth did, we are going to have that same sort of situation going on. So, being attentive about your body is a very good idea, not just physically, but also emotionally and stuff like that. If there is a cosmic ray alert, I would spend my time with nature. I wouldn't necessarily be going up hills, flying in planes and stuff like that, where you're going to get a lot more cosmic rays. But if you are more connected to the vibration of the Earth, you may feel this a lot less. So meditation is a good idea. Meditating with trees is a good idea, but also doing activities that connect us to it. So sport is probably a good idea. Drawing or art, playing music, sculpture, even gardening, just getting into that connection that makes us part of that vibration that is around us. When we do that, it's a lot easier to just calm down and relax with the Earth itself. So, as I said, I'm doing another video which is going to be a lot more in depth, and we will be talking to some of my clients and how they've experienced this whole sort of situation. So for the coming week coming up, have a look at what your roots are. So what the situation is with you, and looking at the root of all those situations, and try and to resolve them through sort of communication. That means speaking to each other, playing with each other, etc., enjoying life a little bit. You will find the solutions, but we do need to look at them if we're going to go forward and go ahead with all of that, with life, and try and get past all this sort of lockdown stuff and this flu. Yeah. So do look after yourselves. I will speak to you soon. That has been your energy update. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell, and also like and share this video. It helps us with the algorithms with YouTube, and that will also help spread the message. If everyone is well, we are well, but the wellness starts with you. Okay, so until next time, take care. Ciao for now.